Dear Piggy's JavaScript tutorial. So in this video, we're going to be doing 2 more string properties, but we're going to kind of go in a little bit deeper. They're not hard. In fact, they're really, really easy string properties, but we're going to be kind of using it in a function. So if you would like to make your life a little bit easier, then I'd suggest you go ahead and check out the previous video last week that I made that was about button on click events and things like that. So I would highly, highly recommend you do that because that's basically what we're going to be doing in this video. So string properties. We're going to be working on 2 uppercase, 2 lowercase, which are some of very, very easy string properties because all it does is change things to uppercase or lowercase. But we're going to be using that in a function. So let's go ahead and try it out. First thing, whoops, that's REPL from a previous one. I'm going to go ahead and create my REPL. So I'm going to create. Last time we actually talked about using the external script. This time, to make your life easier so that you understand it more, I'm going to leave everything on one page. Now, just because I do does not mean that most people do it this way. I'm just doing this to help you guys out, but make sure that you don't get too used to this because I'm trying to kind of switch your mindset a little bit. Alrighty, so we have our script tag here. And this is where we're going to write our JavaScript. The first thing, I'm going to create an empty tag for future purposes where I can print things out. And I'm going to set the ID to be like upper, even though we're doing upper lowercase. So we might have forgotten how to create a function, but that's okay. Let me refresh your memory. We're going to start with a keyword called function. Then we're going to give our function a name. I'm going to call it change case because I want to change the case, and I'm going to put parentheses behind it. Then I'm going to use curly braces. Now, everything inside here is function code. All right, so what is something that we want to do? Well, first, I'm going to go ahead and create a variable. And that variable, let's come up with a name. Scream. All right, so we're gonna say var scream, and it was like I scream for ice cream. Actually, I'm gonna make this all lowercase to make it sound unexcited. I scream for ice cream, and I really do, but I scream in pain because I don't get the ice cream. There's actually a difference. Anyway, so we say I scream for ice cream. Now, we're going to use the DOM elements here, but we're going to combine it into one step. Instead of creating a separate variable with the dot uppercase part, we're just going to squeeze it all together. So take a look at what I do here. Document dot get elements by ID and say upper dot inner HTML. So up until now, we understand what's going on. But instead of doing a new variable, I'm going to say scream dot to uppercase. So that basically eliminated the step where we had to create another variable and just basically did it all in one line. I think this is pretty self-explanatory though. We just take the scream variable and convert it all to uppercase. So now if I run my code, nothing is going to happen. And why is that? Because I put all of my code in a function. So a function needs to be called. We need to tell it to, well, run. So this is where the next part is going to come in. We are going to create a button. Right. Now this is something we learned last time. It's basically a button is kind of HTML, but then again, we need to know HTML as well. So if I say click me, there's going to be a button on the page that says click me that does, well, nothing. So let's go ahead and make it do something. We're going to add an event to it. On click, which is basically saying, what should I do when the button gets clicked? And we're going to say, well, run the function called change case. And be sure to add your little parentheses behind that. So now if I run my code and I choose click me, it says I scream for ice cream. Except all of this is in uppercase because we said to uppercase. So again, this part that I just did is called events. Basically, we use the onClick event. Again, take a look at the previous video. If you're confused, it'll explain it in more detail. But basically, it just told it to run the function when the button got clicked. So we see that the uppercase, lowercase has worked. To test out lowercase real fast, let me go ahead and change this all to uppercase. So turn on our caps lock and say, I scream for ice. I scream for vegetables. Ha. So we're going to say, this is really enthusiastic, right? So now we're going to make it unenthusiastic. So instead of 2 uppercase, I'm going to say 2 lowercase. And then remember to put your parentheses though. Run your code. And when you say click me, it says I scream for vegetables is in lowercase. Unexcited, which is basically implying, Mom, I don't want to eat my vegetables, right? Okay, so in this section, we created our function, and we've learned about 2 upper and 2 lower cases and our onClick event. On to the next part. The next part of the string property is going to replace our values. So now we can essentially take a value and change it if we take some part of our code and replace it. So let me go ahead and get rid of this. Makes me really sad to delete all that nice code, but I will do this all again for yours to change. Again, I'm going to leave the ID, except this time I'm going to call it replace. So now I'm going to create my function again. So start with the keyword, call it replace text, and then put some parentheses behind it. Use your curly braces to emphasize that the function code is in here. Now, like before, we're going to give a variable called, I really feel like I should print the original, but let's just stick with this for now. Our variable is puppy, and we're going to say, my mom will, no, not my mom, my parents. This is a joint decision between them. Will buy me 1 puppy. Reasonable request, right? 1 puppy, just 1. But now let's go ahead and change things up a bit. So like our previous section where we got rid of the next step and eliminated 2 variables into just 1, that's essentially what we're going to do. We're going to say document.getElement by ID and take the ID called replace and set the inner HTML. I feel like I did something wrong because it didn't pop up. Set the inner HTML to puppy.replace. So again, another step. We basically said instead of creating another variable that was equal to puppy.replace, we just shoved it all in there. So we're going to say puppy.replace. And what are we replacing though? This is the next part. In these parentheses, we have to tell it what to replace and what it should be replaced with. So go ahead and replace 1 with 100. So basically what this is saying is it's saying set the HTML of this element to puppy, except when you do, replace the 1 with 100. You run your code and nothing happens. Why is that? Because we never called our function. Go ahead here and create your button that says like click me. And then we're going to give it an event when you are clicked. So button, when you're clicked, go ahead and run the function called replace text. Don't forget your parentheses. So now if you run your code, it says my parents will buy me 100 puppies. So just a simple request with some code, guys, can turn into something that really benefits you. So now my parents are going to buy me 100 puppies. Totally. Okay. So I hope that was clear. Basically what we did is we created a string, then we told it to get replaced some value with another value. So this first value here is what it should be looking for, and this next value is what should replace the previous value. Then we did a button that's event was basically to run the function that we made. So yeah, guys, that was our last video of the week. I will see you guys in the next one. So now these will be weekly again. So yeah, bye guys.